Guys, so we are losing our country. There is no doubt about it. The Constitution is absolutely being destroyed right before our eyes. And it comes down to this. Either we impeach and remove Donald Trump, or the country is going to be completely destroyed. Or, even if it's not completely destroyed, the damage that will have been done, even assuming that we have elections in the future, the damage that will have been done will be beyond repair. And you may think impeaching Trump, removing him from office is impossible. It's not impossible, but it's not likely to happen. But whatever you think about that, the likelihood of that as an option, that's the choice. I really believe that's the choice. We impeach and remove him, which certainly isn't likely, or we lose the entire thing. That's where we are. Now, I want to talk here about what's going on today. You know, you can't even keep track. Every single day, there are so many things that this administration is doing to undermine the rule of law, undermine our Constitution, destroy this republic from within. You can't even keep track of everything. But today, one of the highlights is that he is going to sign an executive order, or this is what is being reported. He's going to sign an executive order to order the closure of the Department of Education. Now, we all know that he has no authority to do that. Of course, he has no authority to do a lot of the things that he's doing. But as we're discovering, if no one stops him, then he can do these things. And the only people who can stop him are members of Congress who can impeach and remove him. If nobody stops him, then he's just going to keep on doing these things. Now, as to this executive order, let me read just a little bit here. This is from NBC News. President Donald Trump is scheduled to sign an executive order this afternoon that sets in motion the dismantling and eventual shuttering of the Education Department. Officially closing the department would require an act of Congress. Well, isn't that nice that they throw that in there at the end? Officially closing it would require an act of Congress. So just reading that little blurb from NBC, I mean, is that going to be the way they report this? Oh, sure, Trump can close it practically, but to officially close it, that needs an act of Congress. Is that what the Constitution says? He can completely shut it down, practically speaking. He can fire everybody in the Department of Education, order that they all go home. But to officially, on the books, close it, that requires an act of Congress. That's not what the Constitution says and requires. He has no authority to cut spending to the Department of Education, to cut any programs that have been authorized by Congress through the Department of Education. He has no authority to do any of that, not just to officially file the paperwork to close it. No, he can't do any of this stuff constitutionally or legally. But again, if no one's going to stop him, my point there, pointing that out is, that's really pathetic reporting by NBC News. They should be, saying what this is. This is an illegal takeover of the federal government by Donald Trump, who is violating the Constitution, usurping the Article 1 powers of Congress, and flagrantly violating the Constitution, acting as a dictator like he promised to do when he was running for office. That's what they should be saying, not saying, oh, Donald Trump is scheduled to sign an executive order to close the Department of Education. To officially do it would require an act of Congress. It's pathetic reporting. You want to hear a little more pathetic? Here's later on in this same posting from NBC News, the Democrat response to Donald Trump's upcoming order to close the Department of Education. Representative Bobby Scott, the top Democrat on the House Education and Workforce Committee, criticized Trump's plans to abolish the Department of Education, calling the move, quote, reckless. Quote, I am adamantly opposed to this reckless action, said the Virginia Democrat. Quote, I am also disappointed, although not surprised, that Secretary McMahon's first order of business after her confirmation is capitulating to the president's dangerous and illegal demands. Scott said he thinks Trump's executive order, quote, will be used to distract Americans from the fact that Republicans are not working to address the real problems facing students and families, widening academic achievement gaps, school shootings, and the burden of student loans. Wow. Isn't that a strong response by the top Democrat on the House Education and Workforce Committee? Oh, he's disappointed. Oh, this is reckless, and I am disappointed. Really? That's the message from the top Democrat on the Education Committee? This is the problem. The response by Democrats does not meet the moment. They take this flagrantly unconstitutional dictatorial act that he has no constitutional or legal authority to take, that this is a takeover by a fascist dictatorial regime. That's exactly what it is. And the response by top Democrats is, this is reckless. This is reckless, and I am disappointed. And I might write a harshly worded letter addressed to the Secretary of Education because I am just upset by this. Wow. Well, way to fight back. Now, I know they don't have the numbers to stop any of this, and the only way to stop it is to impeach and remove him, as I said. I know they can't do that, but they're doing nothing, not even in their messaging, to effectively fight back against this, or to even talk about it in the terms in which it should be talked about. This is not just some action by the president, like a normal president doing something you don't like, and you say, oh, well, this is reckless, and I oppose it, and I'm just so disappointed. No, this is a dictator fascist trying to destroy the republic as fast as he can. This requires a response that is commensurate to the danger that this is, to the flagrant illegality that this is. Not harshly worded letters, not expressions of your disappointment. This country is being taken over by a fascist dictator regime, and the American people have no idea. And they're not going to know if they're not told. And they're not going to get that message with harshly worded letters directed to the Secretary of Education and expressions of our disappointment. My God. So yeah, we're pretty friggin' screwed now, aren't we? As I said, the only way to stop this is to impeach and remove him. And there doesn't look like there's any chance in hell of that happening. Even if Democrats had the numbers. They're certainly not talking like they think that this is an existential threat to the future of our republic that requires impeachment and removal. Even if they had supermajorities, would they do it? Or would they continue with their expressions of disappointment? Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. This country is being destroyed right before our eyes, and the Democratic Party, I know some of you get really angry when I say Democratic Party is doing nothing effective. You know what? Screw that. I'll call the damn party whatever I want. How is it that I don't think they're even worthy right now of being called the Democratic Party? They're not fighting for democracy. So I don't need any fucking lectures about how it's the Democratic Party. You know what? Act like a Democratic Party. Act like a party standing up for democracy and rule of law and the Constitution. And then maybe I'll do, a better job of referring to the party correctly as the Democratic Party. But as far as I'm concerned, they're not even worthy of the name. This country is being destroyed, and Democrats are going along because they're cowards.